everybody. Welcome to another Street Epistemology video review show. Today I've got some guests here today. I have Chucky, Dali, and Chucky's conversation partner, Miro. What's up, guys?
Hello.
Hey,
Hello.
So, yeah, Chucky, what are we going to be doing here today?
So I think this is kind of interesting because we get the opportunity to actually have the interlocutor in the review conversation with us. I spoke with Miro a few weeks back about his belief in sometimes being able to identify people's astrological signs. And we had a great conversation. I mean, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but we had a conversation about it. And he's here to talk about his experience in the conversation.
Nice. All right. Anything else to say, Miro, before we get started?
Yes, maybe I'll just say that off the recording, Chucky kind of commented that I came across a little bit as defensive, and I could, after watching the video, which is extremely useful really to examine the beliefs, because I could kind of hear myself talk and hear myself respond or not respond. But off the video, Chucky kind of asked me how I felt about it, and I admitted to him that I was a little bit ashamed of my belief. And I think that's the main reason for any hesitation or any defensiveness that you will notice in my conversation. But we can comment on it as we find out, as we find needed along the way.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, let's just get right started. I see some people in the chat. Hello. Welcome, welcome. If you have any questions for any of us or Miro, feel free to post in the chat and we'll highlight them. So, all right, first up, let's get up to the section on clarifying the claim, what we're talking about. Here we go.
Okay. So I believe that it's possible to guess a person's zodiac sign or astrological sign with better than chance success rate.
Okay. When you say people can guess this, anyone or certain trained professionals or?
Neither. It's like I'm saying it's possible, just like it's possible that it's possible to ride a motorcycle.
So there are some people who can do this.
There are some people who can do this. Well, but it's not exactly the same because I don't know people who can do this. And I don't think that there's training that helps you do this. It's just based on my personal experience.
Do you think you can do this?
No, I don't.
I thought this was interesting. Can we stop here?
Sure. I thought that was the original claim that he could do it, but then he said, no, he can't. Okay, interesting.
What, Miro, do you want to maybe explain why you responded that way?
I didn't want to give the wrong impression that I can do this at will, and I think I mentioned it in the continuation of the video.
Sorry. The difference is that he has been able to do this in the past sometimes, but he can't choose when he can do it, is the idea. But I felt like it was very interesting because unless I had asked more questions, we could have just stopped at, oh, you can't do this. I guess that's not, which is a little interesting how it felt like you were sort of not wanting to give too much.
And part of it is knowing that it's your show, Chucky. I was leaving it all to you to ask questions, to probe, so that I can kind of give answers that are pointed to where the conversation should be going based on your method.
Interesting. Okay.
Cool.
So, but again, keep in mind a little bit of that defensiveness was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't seen this before. Let's see what else you say at this clarifying the claim section.
Because it's a if it's a performance on the spot, like if I'm asked to perform on the spot, I cannot do this.
There you go.
I feel like there's
So then-
something. I feel like there's something underneath this that you're not saying.
Correct. Yes. Because the belief comes from me occasionally having some feeling
Okay.
about what the other person's astrological sign is, and it's not something that I can force or that I can kind of turn on. It's not like a detector, switch that exists in me, and I turn it on, and then we know what the other person's zodiac sign is.
So if I can try to restate this, see if you agree with what I'm saying. It sounds like you're making the claim that sometimes you can predict people's zodiac signs. Is that correct?
Yes,
Are you
and it may
comfortable
sound
with,
very.
Are you comfortable with the way that I stated it?
Yes.
And just to
He
be
seems
clear,
uncomfortable.
how are you feeling at this point, Miro?
Again, I'm uncomfortable about this claim in general. Although it's my belief, it's part of my belief. It's very incongruent with the rest of what I know and what I can understand about the world. So that's where part of that discomfort comes from.
I think I think one of the things that's just should be said is I think it takes bravery to be able to talk about things that make you uncomfortable, and I appreciate you for doing so.
You're welcome.
Thank you
You
for
need to read
tolerating.
it.
Yeah. Should we keep going in this section or skip forward?
Maybe a little bit more of this.
Okay.
Yeah, I would even say it a little bit less stronger than that. Nowadays, I think that sometimes is probably closer to never. But I'm more. The reason why I'm so, let's say, why I think this is interesting,
Mm-hmm.
and it may not be interesting to you, but the reason why I think it is interesting is because of just how weird and strange it is. That
So what makes it weird?
I can think of no. I can try to come up with some, tortured explanations
Like a
of
mechanism.
why it might be so, why this might
Mhm.
be true. Because for this to happen, there has to be again some sort of a correlation between another person's zodiac sign and what I'm perceiving about them,
Yeah.
and how I perceive them.
Yeah.
And that's just very strange. That's there's absolutely no scientific basis to this. And furthermore, there were attempts to let's say try
Document.
to find some objective commonalities, in personality and stuff like that. So it's hard to accept, and that's why I find it interesting.
So just so that you hear your own words back, you sort of feel of two ways about this. You believe it, but at the same time you think that it's weird because you
Yes.
can't imagine how it's possible.
Correct.
Okay.
I can't
But-
imagine a
A mechanism.
process
Process,
through
yeah.
which this is possible. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I think we've established what your belief is. And I think that might be a good place to stop for a minute. Yeah.
Okay. Should we move on to the next section or anything to comment about that so far? It's interesting. So he said there's no scientific basis. It's just his personal experience with him being able to do it in the past. And he seems like he can no longer possibly do it at this point in his life. Is that what you're saying, Miro?
Yep.
Okay, interesting.
One little thing. I'm kind of curious to get Miro's take on this, but I noticed when I watched the conversation back that I kept using the word mechanism and Miro kept using the word process. And at watching back, I thought, oh, I should have used the word process. I should have used his word, but I kept insisting on mechanism. Did that bother you at all?
No, and I had the opposite experience. I kept thinking, why didn't I use the word mechanism? It's fine. It's okay.
Because it felt like we were in tension, but because we sort of kept refusing to use the other person's word. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't really matter much. We get the spirit, we get the meaning of it. I think I was just trying to be overly precise, and mechanism sounded too mechanistic, if you wish. There are things like, I don't know, quantum mechanics that defy logic, and I wouldn't necessarily call quantum mechanics, but it is.
There's a question in chat. Miro, when did you first sense your ability?
Sometime in the 20s, I started playing with this, and then that's maybe in my 30s is when I had the three kind of experiences that I'm going to refer to later on.
Yeah. So I'm not actually sure exactly which section we talk about it, but Miro's personal experience comes down to three specific episodes. So let's see. So what would be a good section to go to next?
Can I just say something more about this part so far?
Sure, yeah.
First of all, a really good thing, Chucky, that you did when you probed, when you sensed that there's something more, and you probed and you prompted me to say more about this. And I felt like there is more in my mind that I wanted to kind of get out so that we're on the same page. I just didn't know how much of the of how much it would be in the flow of things as you want to have them be. Whether perhaps giving a little bit more of the background, how it came about, like this question, when was the first time that I felt this? I just didn't want to go too far into it, but that's even your question more was kind of good. At that point, I wanted perhaps to say a little bit more, but I still held back a little bit to let you guide the show.
Yeah, I've noticed there is a vast difference between talking to people. Some people, you really have to look for times when you can ask questions, and other people, they really want you to ask questions. And I think I have a hard time navigating that.
Yeah.
What are your experiences, Reid and Dali, with that? You've done so many more of these than I have.
Yeah, it varies by person for sure. I'd say 90% of people just want to hear themselves talk, and most of the time they're just kind of vamping and kind of making up stuff on the spot. They probably never heard, like, really thought about whatever we're talking about. And they're just trying to give things that seem plausible to themselves and possibly plausible to me and people watching. So it's like, and they might get anxious about that and just keep talking and talking.
Yeah.
So, but some people are different, but it depends.
I reject the vast majority of questions that occur to me, mostly because I don't have time. So if I throw away 80% or I throw away 90%, it doesn't feel a lot different.
So you're saying you have questions that you think you might ask, and then you think, no, it's not the cream of the crop. I'm going to wait until I have a better question.
Yeah, and if they end up talking for a lot longer, it doesn't change my process very much. It's mostly listening and then picking the best questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember having the issue of, like, early on, I would have a question, I would hear something and have a question, and they would keep talking. And then I could have asked a question based on the last thing they said, but I most of the time would go
waited
back to
a little bit.
I would go back to my very first question that really had no relation to what they just said and, like, their line of reasoning at that point. So it kind of reset the conversation. I remember doing that early on.
I feel like when that happens, I feel bad. I feel like they're like, I just spent all this time telling you all this stuff, and you're going back to this thing from an hour ago.
Yeah, it's a failure to listen. So it's best if you just do something around what they just said. I guess. I would assume that's the best.
when I'm doing these interviews online, we have a live Discord audience, and they provide half the questions, and they are not in the same path as I was taking. And sometimes that's a problem.
Yeah.
And so there's a balance there in choosing how far off the track I had in mind am I willing to entertain. And that's a balancing act. And I stumble a lot. It's fine.
Yeah. There's another interesting conversation in the chat. Do you find that the dynamics change markedly when people are being recorded, like a higher degree of self-consciousness? Miro, did you feel like the recording process itself was stressful?
Yes, I do have performance anxiety. Even now, there's some of that. So yes.
Yeah. At least for me personally, I felt like the first 2 conversations I recorded, I was pretty nervous. And then after that, I haven't even really thought about the recording since then, at least from my perspective. I would assume that everyone eventually gets over performance anxiety if they have enough kinds of conversations.
Yeah.
Oh, do it live. You can make sure to never get over it.
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of factors with live that add to this.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. All of mine have been recorded so far, so I'm quite happy with that situation.
Yeah.
Should we look for the next section?
Yeah, I think I got the next section queued up. It's the epistemological implications of this belief. Do we need to set up anything before we start this, or should we?
I can't quite remember. The base guy, basically, Miro sort of started pushing back, like, what does it even matter? Why do we even need to spend time discussing this? It doesn't matter. I think that's the basic idea.
Okay, we'll see where it goes.
I don't want to talk to you about a belief that you don't find interesting. Or that you don't find consequential. But I want to ask you then, right? You said that it's important for you to believe true things. Is that right?
Yes.
And perhaps this particular belief isn't super important. That's what I'm hearing you say.
It's not that it's not important whether it's true or not. I guess I would really want to know if let's say there's a way for me to find out that I was completely wrong and this is a belief that's false belief. I would really want to know that.
Unless the process of doing so would be laborious.
Yes, because there's the cost benefit. I mean, it's a dormant belief. Let's put it that way.
That's interesting. A dormant belief. I like that.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'll keep going. I'll bring up something.
So then my question is, could we look at this as a test case for your general epistemology, right? Like, can we use the mechanism that?
Okay, hang on. Let me share this.
Okay.
How do I do this? So, Miro, where is this belief on this diagram here for you? Can you see that? Peripheral, intermediate, or core? Is it like a peripheral thing? It doesn't really matter to you. It's easy to change. Or intermediate, it's harder to change. Or core, it matters most to you and hardest to change.
Good question. I definitely wouldn't say it's core, and because it's not that it matters the most. And I wouldn't say it's peripheral because it's true that it matters least, but I don't think it's easy for me to change this belief. So somewhere around on the periphery, I will say.
It's kind of this 2 dimensions. I watched a review video the other day where you guys were looking at motivated interviewing, and there was this idea of asking the interlocutor, how confident are you in this belief? And then asking, how confident are you that you could change your idea? Like that there's two sort of dimensions to this? How strongly do you believe it, and how open are you to revision? I think would be maybe the best way to put it.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah. So is that a better way to say, like, it sounds like you're not super open to revision, but it's not a very important belief or something?
I would say I would have a hard time revising this belief because of the difficulty in finding any evidence based on which I can revise it, because it's, number one, based on personal experience, which I have the memory of, and I have no memory of other experiences that would kind of provide the negative or false predictions type of thing. And because that's the basis of my belief, it would be hard for me to revise it unless I remember something else that, again, would help me. But through this conversation, I think it's possible that this gets changed, and I think it is a little bit hard for me to change it, but I don't think it's impossible. Yeah.
Okay.
What made you bring up that chart, Reid? Was there something you were thinking, or?
He said something about where that belief is in terms of how much it means to him or something, and that just reminded me of that.
Gotcha.
I like that model.
Uh-huh.
Because if it's core, then that means I would go in a vastly different. I would make sure my question dealt with potentially more deep, moral or other psychological, social need reasons.
That makes sense.
Potentially. All right, we'll keep going.
For your general epistemology, right? Like, can we use the mechanism that you're using to come to this belief as a reliable way to come to beliefs about other things? Maybe things that are more consequential. So let's say someone comes to you and says that they have a strong belief about some important political topic, and they've arrived to it because of strong feelings they had 3 or 4 times, and they think that it happened more than chance.
So the question is
that a reliable way to come to knowledge? Would you trust them?
No, probably not.
Should you trust yourself?
I like the question, is it reliable for coming to knowledge? But I would add an addendum for this type of claim instead of knowledge in general, because depending on what we're claiming, maybe that is a reliable way. I don't know, depending on what it is. So for this type of claim, I would add to that question as an addendum.
So you would say, is this a reliable way to come to this kind of knowledge?
This type of knowledge about this type of claim. It's like this claim is in a category of claims. I think.
Can you be more direct? Like, can you give me some examples of what you're thinking this might be good evidence for, or this might be bad evidence for?
Like this type of claim about it's really like a supernatural or some type of mystical or unknown thing that
I see Dali shaking his finger.
I don't think it has to be. I can give you a method whereby it could happen with completely naturalistically, unsurprisingly.
Yeah, the claim, the hypothesis of one hypothesis of how it's happening is because of some non-natural thing, or is it? I
haven't heard that from Miro.
It's true.
Yeah.
He said very, very carefully that he couldn't think of a natural explanation, but I don't think he was willing to say, therefore it must be supernatural. Is that?
And I can think of natural explanations.
Yes, I can as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your take on the natural versus supernatural, Miro?
Well, I'm really interested to hear what Dali can think of as natural explanations, and then maybe I'll answer.
Oh, okay, I'll call it blind hot reading. Each of you know your sun sign. I'm going to bet that that's true, and I'm not asking you to say what it would be. But each of you have that knowledge in your head. And you might even know, for example, that the sun signs are like 2 weeks off from something of the Julian calendar of the who knows what, that it's not even correct, but you know that information. Because you know that information and because you have observed societal stereotypes associated with that information, you might try to live up to that thing, hold it as an identity. You might try to push against that thing, hold it as a negative identity. You know, I might be this, but I don't have that property, kind of thing. So if you are told, here is your label, you might push yourself in terms of identity one way or the other, and that would be information available to me. I might be blinded to that. I understand the relationship. I might find that people who, I'm going to make this up, people who say, no, I'm not split, I'm very unary. Maybe they're Gemini because they're fighting against this idea. I think Gemini is too. I don't know this stuff very well. You get my point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you might be blinded to the information that would actually fill you into their knowledge of the situation, independent of whether the astrological knowledge has any causal influence other than stereotypes.
Yeah, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You say somebody tells you you're going to walk. You know, you hunch when you walk, and then you find yourself hunching because you're thinking about that. What they say.
And then you start thinking, was I hunching before he said that? Yeah. But I think Reid was really saying that it falls in this category that people generally think of as being supernatural, for sure. Like that's for sure true.
Yeah, if you accept the net effect of astrology, it's almost necessarily supernatural.
Right.
Because there's no physics connection that we can work out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yep. All right, we'll keep going.
Okay. Should
but
you
I'm not
trust yourself? Oh, actually, I kind of want to say something about this. So,
yeah.
I've noticed this thing a couple times, and I feel like I ask a general question, and the person readily agrees to it. You know, they're happy with the general thing. And I feel like by asking the same question about the specific thing, which should be repetitive, it should be, well, I've already answered that. It really makes people stop. And they think, oh, well, I do agree with the general, but I feel like when it comes to the specific, there's resistance. I wondered if you had any, maybe, how did you feel when I asked you the same question about this specific topic?
So I think at this point, I have agreed that in general, I don't think that this is a reliable way to come to knowledge.
Right.
And but when you say, should you trust yourself with this, that's not like a general knowledge that applies to everybody. That's now specific with some additional specific information that perhaps changes how I feel about it. So that's why I'm reconsidering.
I see. Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
So if it is something that's consequential, right, I would have to examine it a little bit more. So let's put it this way. Suppose it's a life and death situation. I'm now going to really imagine a scenario. Okay. It's a life and death situation, and somehow...
I think we can skip maybe 2 minutes. We had a bad hypothetical, but then we came to a better hypothetical. Try just skipping like a minute or two.
And he intends to shoot me, for example. Would I want to make the decision to shoot him and live the rest of my life?
Yes.
With the knowledge
Try 30 more seconds. So the problem was Miro has ideas already about whether he'd be willing to change somebody. And okay, this is good. This is good. Scenario. Let's change the scenario.
Oh, there you go.
It's not a life or death situation. It's betting on the stock market.
Okay.
And 3 times in the past, you've had strong feeling
Yes.
that a certain stock is going to go up. And then when you check the paper afterwards, the next day, the next week, it went up.
Mm-hmm.
And then the question is, let's say you get this, 3 years later, you get this strong feeling again. And you go, oh, boy, the 3 times that I've had this feeling before, I was right. How much money should you put after this feeling?
I like how you asked the question, how much money, because I can easily say $1,000. Sure, I would throw in $1,000 in that point, and the thing about the stock market is that is whatever the market's, telling us, that is the fair price on that day at that moment. So in any case, that $1,000, even if I was completely wrong, has a chance of still remaining $1,000, right? But if you ask me how much money would I mortgage my house,
Right,
and dump everything I own,
right.
to that? No.
Why not?
Again, it's that would be a ruinous loss for me, and I would probably go somewhere, maybe a little bit more than $1,000, but not as high as to not be able to live myself and regret it for the rest of my life.
Okay.
I like this thinking in bets. This is a proxy for the confidence scale. I think
Yeah.
that's really great.
Yeah. I think I might have gotten too into it, too into the numbers. We started talking about, would you take a 25-75 bet and stuff like that. But
I think you did a good job, Chucky, revising this example based on the information I was giving you. Because after this, you said, okay, let's work into the hypothesis. You were going to say, let's bet, is it going to go up or down, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of removes the layers of what I was talking about. Yeah. So I think it's good in general that you work into the hypothesis, the irrelevant stuff that kind of adds noise to the core of the question.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like it landed well for you, the hypothetical.
Yes. Eventually, I think we work it out to
Yeah.
that start going up or down.
Should we keep going from here or skip forward?
I think we could listen to a little more of this.
Okay.
This is maybe too mathematical, but you said that you were 75% confident, right? Would you take a bet where I put up $25 and you put up $75? That stock will rise?
Will rise, and
and
that's
so
a good way of asking it.
Ceiling spiders. I would put up 250 and you would put up 750, something like that.
Yeah, for a smaller sum, I would certainly do that.
Is it fair to say you're 75% confident while also saying you wouldn't do it for 10,000? I don't like this question.
10,000.
I wish I hadn't asked this.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like you're trying to calibrate the scales that way.
Yeah, there's something weird, right? Like, just because you're 75% confident doesn't mean you'd bet everything. Like on a 25%, 75% bet. Like, ruinous loss does matter, and that's what Miro pointed out. And I really felt like I shouldn't have gone down this path.
Okay, yeah. All right, we'll see.
But you didn't know what I was going to say either. So yeah.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Like 10,000 of my money?
Yeah, well, so yeah, I'm terrible at arithmetic, but let's say I put up 2,500 and you put up
There it is.
7,500. Would you consider that a fair bet? Oh, this was really interesting.
Might be fair to me. I don't know about you.
So I really want to talk about this. I would love to know, Miro, because when I heard you say this, I thought you were, and I think maybe it's borne out by the rest of the conversation, but I thought you were kind of teasing me. You were saying it would be fair to me, like you're in trouble. You're going to lose this bet.
So I've been in situations when I've bet with my partner on money when she was sure, she was 100% sure, and
Right.
I said, would you be willing to bet $1,000, even money, even odds? And she said yes. And I said, well, I think I even said, I'll bet my $100 to your $1,000 because that's how confident I was. And she lost the bet, and I forgave her. I didn't, of course, I didn't have heart to take money from her. So I think that's what's going through my mind at that point. I
see.
But to be also to go back to what you were saying about this question, something else is wrong about that question. If I'm 75% confident, it really does matter that that the odds or the payout is exactly matching the odds. So, would you bet $1,000 on a flip of a coin? Even money, or would you bet $10 on it? I mean, that's where I think the question gets a little bit off track.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Okay.
I'm worried about how, and maybe we should watch it, but I think I responded in a way because I thought it was a joke. I thought it was you being kind of funny.
So I was not teasing you, yeah.
Yeah, and so I tried to play along with it, and then it became this sort of scary thing for me. I thought maybe, he actually sees this now as being aggressive. Can we play the next little bit?
Sure.
Because I was really worried that this is right to tell you where I'm coming. Well, right to tell you where I'm coming from, I would definitely take that bet.
Okay.
I feel like it's
remember
the way he responded. This is like dejected. Okay, I thought I saw in his face. Chucky thinks I'm being ridiculous. He would definitely take this bet because he thinks that my belief is ridiculous. Is that anything like you were actually experiencing, Miro?
Not necessarily that you think that I'm ridiculous, but yes, I do think that you hold an opinion and belief, your own belief, that this is impossible or that this cannot be the chance. And therefore, when somebody offers you such good odds, you would definitely take it. And you're letting me know that. But if you play this on, it was at that point, it seemed like you were not necessarily talking about my belief, but you were talking about your belief. So that's why I responded the way that I responded.
Yeah, I really regretted saying it.
It's okay. I mean, I don't think it cost much.
Okay, good. Yeah, we talk about spending the goodwill that you have built up in the conversation. And I felt like I had spent quite a bit right there.
Okay, we'll see where it goes.
I'm not trying to convince you of anything here.
I don't mean to make it combative. I'm just trying to say, I'm trying to understand what it means for you to be confident or not about this belief.
So can I just say again,
Sure.
Chucky, it was not, I did not felt that this was combative. It just felt like the conversation is no longer about my belief, but it was now as if this conversation is about me trying to convince you that you should believe this. And that's the only thing that I wanted to say.
I'm really trying to avoid that. Like, I want the person I'm talking to feel like we're on the same team.
Yeah. But that was the moment, and then we're back to talking about my beliefs. So we're okay.
All right.
I'm really curious to ask Reid and Dali, like especially you, Reid. You seem so stoic in these conversations. Do you have these internal things where you think to yourself, "Oh, Reid, why did you say that?"
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes it can go off the rails a little bit, but then I still just
You just keep pushing
I
on.
just keep going. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like I don't really take anything personally,
Yeah.
and I'm probably never going to see this person again. They're probably not even going to care in like an hour, so it's like whatever.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's a really interesting difference, right? When you talk to somebody you know, like I think a lot of people would love to talk to their family and friends about their beliefs, and there's a real danger that when you spend that currency, you're actually spending against something that matters to you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Added pressure. All right, we'll keep going here.
I just noticed Gurley asks, how important is it in SE to not reveal your own beliefs? I think it's super important. I feel like to me, that's the key, the difference between having a normal conversation and having a conversation that allows someone the room to explore their beliefs.
Yeah, it's like SE by default, you never share your own beliefs unless you're asked, and unless rapport is super positive and near the end of the conversation, ideally.
Even when I'm asked, I usually try to say, I really want to focus on what you believe, but I'd be happy to tell you how I feel about this at the end of the conversation.
Yeah. Right. All right, we'll keep going.
Sure. I hear you saying that you're 75% confident, and so I'm trying to investigate exactly what that means. Maybe the numbers are too specific. You're just quite confident.
Yeah, maybe.
But it's interesting that you might be hesitant to take a bet like that. I wonder why.
I'll tell you why. There's two reasons why I might be hesitant. So first is, remember, I tried to do the tests with this belief of mine.
Okay.
When I tried to perform at will.
Right.
And it didn't work for me. I mean, I couldn't do it at will.
In this scenario, you've had the feeling.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
However, there is also that the awareness in this scenario that there is some real monetary consequence invoked. And I know this may sound like a cop-out.
Okay.
But I feel that would somehow create noise for me. It's one thing when I get this feeling and it really means nothing to me. It's like this is one of the things that that I can tell you about this feeling. When I have this feeling, this strong, when I've had it, okay, let's put it that way. It was really, neither, for me, it was completely irrelevant. And I think that there's something about not being completely unfettered with anything that's part of how this feeling arises. Does that?
What do you mean by that feeling that you can guess someone's zodiac sign? Is that the feeling you're saying, or what are you saying?
So what I'm talking about here is that there is the feeling that I get that this person that's, let's say, sitting next to me or that I'm listening to or anything like that, that I get the feeling that this must be, let's say, an Aries speaking or Aries sitting or something like that. So that feeling comes out of blue. It doesn't come because I ask for it. There's just some process of association that I'm observing, and then all of a sudden I get a very strong association, Aries, and that's the feeling that I get. And when it's that strong association, when it happens, that's what I call that feeling.
Okay. Is this a feeling based on certain criteria you already have knowledge of and you're detecting that criteria in the person, or you're just feeling the connection to the sign in general?
No. Okay. So that's it's not like I have some magical feeling, seventh or whatever, ninth sense that can detect zodiac signs. I don't think that it's anything like that. And I don't have an expert system in my mind where I go, down the path and is it this or that or something like that. I think it's the best that I could explain it is a gut feel. You just at one point get a gut feel. Oh, this is not a safe path, or maybe this is a safe path, or this is a good idea. I'd like to explore it further. I'm talking about some other examples, just trying to relate it.
Okay, so it's not like you have a encyclopedic knowledge of the different traits in each sign, and you're detecting it on the person. It's a gut feeling. It's just that.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And if anything, the and I mentioned this somewhere else in the video. I started playing with this in my 20s. And I started noticing some of the ways that I react to other people. Like they might say something that I either like or dislike, or I feel a certain dissonance with what they're saying or how they're behaving. And then I kind of tried to derive from that just out of, curiosity or maybe just playing, and I was trying to guess the zodiac sign, and that I was not successful at that point, but it's almost like that I have started paying attention to this, and maybe somewhere, somehow, this later on awakens associations and says, oh, maybe that's zodiac. That's the closest I can explain to how it came about.
Okay.
Question in the comments. Did Miro have gut feelings about people in this sense before learning about astrology?
I don't think so. I mean, we're just talking about predicting zodiac signs, because I was just trying to correlate. I mean, you have feelings in general, but I was in this case just trying to correlate zodiac sign to certain perceptions and how what I'm perceiving also affects me and my feelings.
What are the other more popular ways of categorizing people? There's like Myers-Briggs, there's the Big Five. Do you think you could do the same with those types of categorization systems, or just astrology?
I've never thought about that, but I guess those are much easier to deal with. Like, for example, just think about introvert, extrovert. I mean, you observe somebody talking and you can think reasonably extrovert, or somebody just sitting quietly and thinking, and that you can reasonably guess introvert.
Mm-hmm.
We sort of touched on this a little bit tangentially at the very beginning when we started talking about confidence numbers. Miro explained that he's 75% confident in this particular belief about zodiac. And I asked him, how confident would you be that people can guess birth day of the week? And I think he was 1 or 2% confident or something like that. And and then I asked him, how confident would you be that I could guess your birth year, which obviously is correlated to, how white your hair is and things like that. I believe it was 30%.
Yeah, somewhere around that, yeah.
And it's like, but day is 1 in 365, month is 1 out of 12, week is 1 out of 7, or weekday, or whatever the date is. How many signs are there again?
12.
12.
But my belief is that better than chance. So 75% confident that it's possible to do it better than chance, or at least that I can sometimes do it better than chance.
Okay, I'm not good at math. If you did this with the next 100
8.3
people,
8.33%.
so you'd be able, if we had like 100 people lined up here to get on this chat, and you could be able to, and you attempted to guess their sign, you would get it right. How many times out of 100?
More
So
than
it would be
8.
More than 8. Thank you.
More
Dali.
than 8 out of 100.
Yes.
Like how much more?
So, okay. So now we
He
get
only
in-
said more, so 9.
This is really interesting. I feel like Reid has fallen into the trap of doing SE on Miro.
No, I don't feel that way actually, because I think this is a statistical confidence question, right?
Yeah.
So you would have to work out, and I can't do this math in my head, but if out of 100 people, I guess not 8, but I guess 16, you can work out the number of combinations, how many possible outcomes are there out of all, how many positive outcomes or desirable outcomes that give 16 or more. And then you divide that by number of possible outcomes of guessing or not guessing. And I think that ends up being already, if you just double it, or if you get to 3 times better than chance, I think you're well above 90% of confidence that this is not a chance, that this is not by chance.
Yes, you're talking about the p-value.
The p-value, exactly.
Over 100 n. Yeah.
How many would you need to guess in order to be over 95% p-value?
I'm guessing that you would probably have to be somewhere around 20 to be over 95%. Maybe even 15 to 20 would do it.
Anywhere above 20. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I don't want to do SE now. We can continue with the conversation.
Yeah, that's fine.
The question, there's a question hanging in the air, but we don't have to ask it.
Yeah. Well, maybe at the end we can come back.
Yeah.
Should we keep going here or go to a different spot?
I think just maybe a few more seconds of this and then skip to the next section. Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Sure. But we can work that into the hypothetical, right? You've had this feeling independent of me, and then you tell me about the feeling. You say, remember that conversation we had? I had that feeling last night.
Yes.
And I go, oh, that's interesting. What was it about? And you say, I saw this woman walk across the room, and I just knew she was an Aries. And I say, oh, would you be interested in making a wager? And you've already had the feeling. You've had the pure, unadulterated feeling.
Yes.
And now I'm coming in and I'm adulterating it. Does that change something?
So the second part of hesitation is that in that scenario, so let's say now I have this ability, it's completely unadulterated. I like how you phrase it, because at that point when I had the feeling, I didn't even know, let's put it this way, I didn't even know that you were going to come up later and say, I'm going to take that back.
Yeah.
I might think that it's not fair to you that I do this bet. So
Well, why are you laughing?
No, we're just back to where we started, because I know what Chucky's going to say now.
All right, keep going.
Protecting me from losing money.
Yes.
But that's fine. What I'm hearing is that you would be comfortable ignoring how much you care about me, but you would be okay with the bet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
If we imagine this other person who came to you and said, I have this feeling sometimes about stock market picks. I was right 3 times. I'm 100% sure I was right 3 times. There may have been some other times, but I don't think I would have forgotten them. And I've just had this feeling. I was just sitting here and I had this feeling that Apple stock is going to go up today, and so I've decided to mortgage my house. Would you caution him?
Yes.
Why?
because it's a ruinous loss for them.
But he's had this feeling. I mean, he's quite confident that he can make a 25-75 bet.
Well, I don't know. His feeling, my feeling. I mean, we're not talking about objective things.
I think I want to stop the section here. So I think this was really interesting, and Miro and we actually talked a little bit about this afterwards, where I had said to him, I wish I had pushed more for the third person kind of perspectives, thinking about this other person who is making the same sort of conclusions based on their own feelings. And Miro's gut reaction was, that is ridiculous. That would not affect my confidence at all. And I kind of want to dive into that a little bit. Can you maybe restate what I just butchered, Miro?
Yeah, no, I think you're asking a very good question. So there is this dichotomy. On the one hand, I'm saying I would be willing to bet money on my feelings. And on the other hand, when somebody else says, and hearing somebody else even say the exact same words that you guys are hearing me, I would still say, don't do it. Don't bet your money on it, man. This is not reliable. So how can I explain this? Again, the best way that I can explain this is that there is, knowing my own feelings, knowing my own experiences, I know a little bit about them, whereas knowing what other people know, and I don't know how closely they examined it, how much careful they are with this in general. Perhaps it's safest thing would be for me to advise against it, which I think you guys would advise me as well. And then I honestly think that this is coming from a good place, that you would advise me not to do that bet. So
I wonder if there would have been a way to make that third person, because there's sort of a tension there, right? Like you want to ask the question so that you feel as if it is somebody else, but it obviously has to be the same situation. So it also has to be you. I can't really maybe figure out a better way of asking it, or if there is a better way, or I don't know. Like how do you guys do outsider tests?
Yeah. It's hard with astrology. I don't know if stock bets analogize in the same type of category. To really connect. What do you think, Dali?
And I think the important difference here is this betting money. Is this money I can afford to lose? Amounts where I'm willing to then even just say, I feel extra willing to believe myself today, and I'll give you odds on an even bet. I can do that. And so it's not very, and the other one is don't bet money you can't afford to lose.
Yeah,
even if the odds are in your favor. Yeah. So it changes the subject when you start talking about betting monies. When you start talking about like statistical probabilities, he's trying to achieve a statistically significant p-value, which is maybe 2 sigma or something. And with an n of 3, I don't think so.
No. You have to really analogize it directly. Like I'm thinking of like a carny guy who guesses things when people go up to him, and like he's getting hired to be this carny guy, and he has this really strong feeling that I can make money for you, carnival manager. I can really guess people's month birth date, whatever their birth month is, more on average. And so hire me and I'll make money for you, because when people come up to me and I say I could pick your birth month, they can bet that, and I'll make money for you.
I promise to only pull out enough money that I could afford it. But if somebody wants to start betting me about like whether, say, Darren Brown could guess the zodiacs of 100 people where he's given 5 minutes of interview time with each one of them, I'm probably going to go over under at about 3 times 1 to the 12th. I'm probably going to bet on the high side of that he'll get 20 of them.
Because we touched on this at one point too. There might be cheaty ways of doing this.
That's what I'm expecting. Naturalistic cheaty ways, and I think Darren Brown has shown me a bunch of them. So if I would be willing to bet money I could afford to lose, that Darren Brown would get 3 times better than normal odds.
Yeah. But what I'm hearing from you, Reid, is the idea that actually make the scenario really similar.
Yeah. And obviously false, or obviously not plausible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Would that work? The Carney guesser guy? What else would work for this? It's just a 1 in 12 guess based on feeling.
Would
So
you hire that Carney guy, Miro?
Well, probably not. Yeah, I still don't know what that does to my belief.
Yeah.
Listening to you guys talk about this, and I think it's commendable that you're trying to come up with a better question that would make the connection between the two. The personal on the one hand and the general on the other.
It's also a roll of the dice. 1 in 12.
Yeah.
Someone has the power to guess, a roll of the dice more than.
Well, that'd be much harder.
Wait, yeah.
In the case of the Carney guy, there might the person that I'm talking to knows. If I could figure out how to read people's expressions and just start picking, holding my finger up against the calendar and looking for when their eyes twitch.
Seeing when they blink, yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, that Carney guy could be tested. Go up there and, be prepared to lose a little bit to your patrons. That would be okay. And give him a couple days, see if he makes a positive response.
Okay.
Or maybe he doesn't ever do better than 1 in 12, but he's entertaining enough and you don't care.
Yeah. And so the carnival hires you and the carnival guy, and patrons can pick which one they want to do. Would you beat the Carney guy? Would you beat his odds? I think you're saying yes, you would. If people could choose.
Well, he's also saying, Miro's also saying he can't do it at will.
Yeah.
Okay.
This isn't we can do the test now. This is in the past I have come up with that I think I have an answer, and then when I checked it was right.
Yeah.
Okay. During the time where you were most able to do this and you were hired at a carnival, do you think you could have beaten the odds of the other carnival guy who just does the birth month and you do the astrology sign?
Probably not. Again, it's the problem is doing it at will, and as I mentioned, I was trying to do this test and doing it at will, and it wasn't really working out.
At will.
At will meaning let me go and test. I'm gonna, over the period of next 12 days or however n days, I'm gonna just look out for people that I don't know, and then I'm gonna try to guess their zodiac sign, like if I was to try to guess maybe your zodiac sign or now or something like that. And then I found that it doesn't really work out.
Okay. What if the carnival manager hired you and said, you can do this for anybody in the carnival whenever you want. It's your choice to do it.
So I like how
whenever you have that feeling, you can ask them if you would like to play this game and bet this. It's up to you whenever you have the feeling.
Yeah, but I like how Chucky asked the question later on, working into the question that because I have the knowledge up front that I might get some monetary gain, that might mess me up a little bit. It's still, trying to work something out of it. But as Chucky asked the question, so let's say you didn't know that we were going to make the bet at that time, and the next day you're making the bet, then I would have accepted that bet. So
it sounds like you're saying you're concerned that just the possibility of making money off of this might influence this somehow.
Yeah, because I know that this awareness of I want to make money off of it will kind of make me, want to maybe jump to conclusions or see things, or I'll just be impatient. And remember this, if this happens, once in a decade or something like that, there's slim chances that I would ever make money off of it. But if I can maybe come back to what you were saying, Chucky, I mean, to combine the feelings as the basis for knowledge. I like where you were going at the end when you were saying, because we've I think through the conversation we've kind of touched on many things, but at the end one of your question was, okay, we've ruled out that you remember. Supposedly, there were really no instances when I had the strong feeling and it was a false prediction because I cannot remember them. So I was trying to remember them and I cannot remember them. Then Chucky turned it around and said, what if there were other domains in which you were making predictions? And if you...
Should we listen to the part?
Yeah, if you know where it is.
Yeah, is it are the feelings reliable part or
probably the next section? Yeah, I'm just not sure exactly where, but I could be wrong about that.
I have a feeling it's towards the end. Could it have been a chance? It's somewhere in there.
Could it have been chance? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe just skip the first minute or so.
Okay.
Sorry about the not knowing the times.
It's fine.
But short of that, I mean, everything else is me trying to guess some supernatural, existence of some supernatural things like innate ability to predict future or innate ability to guess the day of the week or anything like that. And I don't know.
So what I heard you say is that if you found out that there was a correlation, let's say, between personality or nose length or hair color, some sort of correlation between zodiac symbol and observable properties of humans.
Or how they relate, observable properties of how humans relate.
Right. Whether maybe through communication or through mannerisms or something like that.
Right.
That could be the explanation.
I mean, that could be the explanation.
Could you think of, so I'm asking, can you think of any other explanations? So I have a question here for you guys. I find myself struggling with this too. Like, I set myself up for failure because I asked, can you think of any other reason why this could be the case? And then they say, no, I can't. And then I have to decide, should I offer a reason?
That's fine to do.
Yeah.
If you run out, if they don't come up with anything, maybe ask them twice or at least once, give them the chance.
Right.
And then pick something wildly implausible and see if they'll accept that, and then get it down to plausible. Ideally, you want very plausible, specific disconfirmation criteria. Or maybe that's not word. Yeah, or just, is that what we're talking about? Disconfirmation criteria, or something else?
It's the question is can you think of a simpler explanation for the data that you have? And then sort of the answer is no, I can't.
Yeah, it's a disconfirmation of your preferred hypothesis.
It's certainly my preferred hypothesis, and that's why the section is / right. I wind up asking, could it have just been chance?
Yeah, there's these special astrology prediction powers hypothesis, and then what is the competing hypotheses?
Exactly.
We're explaining the data in the past.
Yeah.
And well, what could they be? Chance,
right?
Or what else? I think that's what you're talking about now.
Exactly. Yeah. So I never know exactly when to offer that. Could it have been chance? Because that's me suggesting that as a hypothesis, not them I don't know.
Yeah, you could propose that as an alternative, and then ask, you
Mhm.
know, as a calibrated question, under what conditions could that hypothesis win out, or
Yeah,
what would you need to learn or find out to prefer that hypothesis
I like that.
than your own? What and also what would disconfirm your own hypothesis about special astrology prediction powers?
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
I think this is the section though. If we want to listen to some more,
okay.
I'm not sure how we are in time. Could it be
I'm not
chance?
sure why you're asking. It feels like you're asking the same question.
Could it be chance that you were right 3 times?
Could it have been chance?
What does he mean right by 3 times? Like he found 3 people in a row that he guessed it right?
He had a strong feeling 3 distinct times in his life, and that feeling was pure and simple. There was no one was challenging him. No one was saying, guess my astrology sign. It just came to him, and it didn't mean anything. It just sort of flowed over him. And when he had that feeling, he was right.
Out of how many people he's asked?
He's never had that feeling and been wrong.
Oh, he's never had it and been wrong. The 3 and only 3 times he's asked some people what their sign is, he has a 100% accuracy.
In
He's
terms of correlation,
batting 1,000 at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that a correct restatement, Miro?
I think you got it right. I just want to clarify to Reid. I've many times asked people what their zodiac sign, and like I said, I've even tried to guess it on the spot. But what the 3 times we're talking about here is 3 times when I've had the strong feeling that I know that somehow it appeared to me that I've associated this person with a certain zodiac sign. And those 3 times when I've had that strong feeling turned out to have been right. And I don't remember other cases where I've had that same strong feeling and that it turned out a false prediction, where I would ask and it was a false prediction. And Chucky does explore this somewhere at the very beginning of the video.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it possible that you forgot some of the times you were
Yes.
wrong?
Yeah. There's like the set of all possible, the set of all asking of the question, and then like the subset of accurate or inaccurate. And I assume the accurate subset also has a like feelings, really strong feelings set as well, which is smaller than that. Have you ever been accurate without the feeling?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So there's and even the accurate is that, and then the subset of feelings inaccurate.
Correct.
Okay. All right, we'll keep going.
Yeah, the naive pure chance is 1 part in 1728.
What did it say again?
So to guess 3 times and be right all 3 times is 1 out of 1728. Is that what you said?
Yeah, 12 cubed. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if he had only asked 3 times, that would have been the odds.
So I hear the question that you're asking, Reid. Miro is making this distinction that he believes he can identify this feeling as being different from other feelings. So when this feeling comes, he is 100% accurate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
So I guess it could have been chance, but the thing is that I had this feeling. I keep coming back to this feeling. I'm getting a little bit.
Would you attribute the non-feeling ones as chance? The ones that you got correct?
Yeah. That's what I have found when I was testing it at will, when I didn't have this feeling, or I don't know, I was just trying to, say the first thing that comes to mind or something like that. Then it was not better than chance.
Okay.
I think we're not getting, I feel like we're not really getting anywhere, and maybe that I'm even putting up resistance, but I don't know, maybe I'm not. But anyway, so because there is a feeling that's associated before I make the prediction, and it was really nothing to me, you know, it doesn't really matter to me whether this person is Aries or not. At that point, it's not just a matter of whether it was a chance. What screams for explanation is, what about that feeling, you know? So how could it be that there is such a strong feeling? And if it was that completely unrelated to, let's say I have a strong feeling and then nothing happens over here, the prediction turns out false, then I would say that's fine. But I guess maybe I can answer your question this way. If I think about how likely is it that I have this strong feeling as one independent event or a probability, and then how likely is it that I'm right, and then I combine them, could it have been a chance? Well, yes, I can calculate the probability that it was chance. But I think that probability would still be less than 25%. Because remember, 3 times, let's say, I have this feeling. And these are the 3 times that I remember. And 3 times I make the prediction that has a 1 of 12 chance of succeeding.
Sure.
Now, remember I said maybe there were some cases when I had the strong feeling and I have forgotten about them, and
You said it's possible.
I'm saying it's possible. But if you just do the probability, you know, 1 over 12, and that's like 0.8 times 0.8 times 0.8. Even if it's just 2 times, again, 0.8 times 0.8, that's less than 1%. So that would make it 1% chance that it's just chance. You know, more than 99% that it's not a chance. So I discount that a little bit and I come down to 75.
Okay.
And adjust for plausibility. Good.
Right. So that's the part that you were talking about, right, Miro?
And I think you asked a question in the last part of this section about something else. So
Okay.
I'm sorry I had you maybe listen to this whole section, but the interesting part I think comes later.
Okay.
Should we keep listening or go to the next section?
We can keep listening to the rest of this section.
Okay.
If that's what he thinks. Here we go.
Right. Okay. I'm thinking about all the feelings that people have throughout their life. I'm wondering if maybe that should figure into the calculations. If you're really going to use statistics to sort of as part of the reason for your confidence. Because I personally, right, have had strong feelings. Boy, today is going to end in disaster. And if you asked me how confident I was, I probably would have said, I'm very confident. And then the day didn't end in disaster. Now, because of that, I don't go around claiming I can guess when days are going to end in disaster. But if I've had that kind of feeling in enough domains, one of the domains I'm going to wind up being lucky at.
That's the question that I like.
And I wonder if the same is true for you. We've got some.
Let's listen to that again.
Some aporia end in disaster. And if you asked me how confident I was, I probably would have said, I am very confident. And then the day didn't end in disaster. Now, because of that, I don't go around claiming I can guess when days are going to end in disaster. But if I've had that kind of feeling in enough domains, one of the domains I'm going to wind up being lucky at.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if the same is true for you.
Yeah. Should we keep listening? Let's listen to the answer. Let's see what happens.
And now you think of yourself as someone who in the past was good at guessing astrological sign, but you don't really think of yourself as someone who's good at guessing, something else, because in fact, those times you failed.
Well, actually, but first of all, I don't think myself as someone who was in the past good at guessing astrological signs, because if it happened,
now sidestepping this is now sidestepping the question. I was just latching on to the last thing that Chucky said. That's comfortable. That I can comfortably talk about. The previous part is interesting, and it is something that I kept coming back to and thinking about after the conversation.
Nice. Great. Cool. Keep going here, or it's another part, or
I can't remember if you actually addressed the real question. Maybe we should listen to the next bit.
okay, I don't know, 2 or 3 times, in my life. I mean, how good is that? I mean, you once in a decade.
Yeah. Sorry I'm not trying to state the claim more strongly than you're saying it.
Yeah. That's okay. I know you care about these, the communication, and just trying to make sure that we're communicating, that we're on the same page. So is it possible that there were many other areas in my life in which I've had strong feelings and I have not been as successful as this one? So as to
how
then
many
say,
areas? Oh, sorry. But how many areas could you have made 3 guesses in? And then sort of focused on the one where those 3 guesses worked out.
right? It's a good question. I would have to think about that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I feel like we've explored quite a bit. So it sounds like that question did stick in your craw.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
so potentially, if he had feelings in other domains and was able to make accurate predictions and not astrology, we could be talking about that domain instead of astrology at that point, potentially.
And then, well, maybe, but that was not the how I took the question. How I took the question is you're basing this on the strong feelings. Now the question is, could you have had strong feelings in other domains in which they turned out wrong? And then that's okay. But that now suddenly widens the possible space of when the strong feelings are possibly wrong. So if it was just about strong feelings related to the zodiac, I can tell you there's 3, and with probably good, recollection. But if it's question about other domains, like, am I going to get this job? I just had an interview, and am I going to get this job? Or, do some other things like that.
Meet a girl, and is there going to be a second date? Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So those things, are there strong feelings in some other domains that have turned out false? And if I combine that, now it's less than, it's not so strong an evidence. It's just, it happens in this domain. It just so happens that it's 3 times in this domain. But in other domains, that strong feeling was turning out wrong.
Now we're back to near the level of chance.
Say again, please.
Now we're back to near the level of chance.
Right. So that would bring us down to the level of chance. That would bring my confidence down, because now I know that there is this feeling in this other domains, not just in the zodiac domains. So that made me think, and I won't bother you with all the things that I have thought about and recollected, in fact, but it was enough for me to start thinking and saying, yeah, actually, it's quite possible that that something like this has happened in other domains and turned out to be false or never right, and therefore I didn't pay much attention to it. So that was a very good question, and I think congratulations to you, Chucky, for making it through that torturous hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah. I think
more reward at the end.
It's another advantage of talking to people is that because I like the people, this the people who are in my life because I enjoy them. I don't find the conversations torturous, but I can imagine talking to a stranger for an hour and a half about their belief in astrology. It would probably be a little tiring. I think that's a good place to stop watching the video. If there's more comments, I'm so excited that you have had even just thoughts about the conversation after the conversation. Like, that pleases me.
I didn't expect that I was gonna watch the video and listen to myself, and then be astonished that sometimes how halting I am in the conversation, and then also kind of analyzing and coming down to, in some cases, well, what am I saying? This is really not a belief at all, because I'm even claiming that I can't do it, and yet I'm claiming something I don't know. It brings up a lot of material. It offers the video offers a lot of material for coming back to and thinking about and thinking through my answers and questions, and it's good, really good for that.
It makes me wonder how much of your after conversation thought came about because you rewatched the conversation. Like, if we hadn't recorded it, what would be the effect of the conversation compared to what it is now?
I can tell you, because there was a delay between when you had the conversation and when you sent me the link before you published it. And in that delay before I saw the video, I thought about the question about other domains. That's true. But some of the other things that everything else. So let's say when you sent me the video, I spent a lot more time thinking about it, and of course rewatching the video and thinking about it than before that. So that's why I'm saying it's very useful.
Yeah, I kind of wonder, what that percentage might be. I found that my thinking changes so much watching these things. Seeing the questions live as opposed to experiencing them live is a very different experience for me, even.
So maybe even, I would say maybe certainly 3 times more I've thought about it, having had the opportunity to watch the video.
Yeah.
But probably even more than that.
Yeah, I wonder, because there's been a lot of questions about like the efficacy of SE. It could be that a lot of the efficacy is that we've been recording these conversations, and these people, hey, give me your card. Let me see where I can watch myself on YouTube, and they come and they watch themselves.
Yeah.
Just that externalization might be helpful.
Yeah, potentially. Although the recorded ones are a minority.
Oh yeah, that's true too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Any other questions from the chat? Those watching? But that was really good conversation. I'll probably go back and watch the whole thing at some point. And
I feel that the way we've kind of fast forwarded through the conversation did make it appear much better than
Yeah.
watching it in real time, at least for me.
Yeah, we skipped like 90% of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really did enjoy listening to it the first time through. Real, and I think you came off very well.
Thanks, Dali.
Cool. All right, and I think we have super chats now turned on. The SE channel is now monetized. If you want to donate to Street Epistemology International, which helps people have the resources to do SE, feel free to do that if you'd like. And I guess we want to wrap it up here. Thanks again, Chucky, Miro, and Dali for doing this.
I want to say I really appreciate, Miro, you being open enough to have the conversation in the first place, and then really to come on and have it dissected live in front of you. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah. And we will see everybody soon for the next random Street Epistemology video review video. Here we go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.